Hey guys, it's Eddie, your Muay Thai tutor, and today we're going to be covering push kicks or the teeps. I'm trying to knock out all the linear strikes before I get into the circular strikes like uppercuts and hooks. With that said, the teep or the push kick is probably the most important strike in a Muay Thai fighter's arsenal. It's the equivalent of a jab or a cross, maybe not necessarily a cross, but like a jab. It's got a lot of responsibility, and because it's your legs, which your legs are longer than your arms, it is the first priority or your first line of defense or offense. So with that said, let's get started. All right, so I anticipate this video being somewhat long. It's very much like me trying to explain a jab and a cross at the same time. So each leg almost has a different type of responsibility. And the responsibilities typically will fall under any of these categories, which would be perimeter. What I mean by perimeter is the range in which you allow your opponent to freely come in. So if your opponent feels like you are no threat, they're just going to walk in at will and start to initiate and do his thing. So if you simply stick out your leg the same way that you would stick out your jab in a probing sense, then the person becomes very reluctant and not willing to just easily come in because they already expect resistance. So you set this invisible perimeter and range, which they expect, confrontation, and they'll typically, if done appropriately, hang out outside of that place. The second thing that'll be responsible for is defense. It's defense. So whether they're going to attack, you can defend it by either, again, setting that perimeter. Another thing would be disruption. So as they're in mid-kick, you're going to disrupt their attack with your own attack or defense of your own. And the other thing is going to be an attack, where you're aggressively initiating with that, with the purpose of setting something up or hurting you. And the style of attack from the left to the right will be different. Typically, your right foot or your dominant leg, which would be your rear side, has a little bit more range to come in, so that will be the more aggressive and more impactful kick. Where the left leg is, again, more of a timing thing, so typically that has the defensive responsibility, but there is a variance where you can be aggressive with your left foot, which I'll cover it too. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to break down the lead leg push kick, which is probably the most versatile push kick. So the ideology behind a push kick is letting your opponent run into your leg. There is some small range of aggression and power, but it's very minimal. Most of it is, again, you setting the length of your limb out there and letting them do most of the damage of their aggressing at your leg. They're going to run at your leg. So I'm not bending my leg. I'm simply bringing my leg straight up. And I'm essentially going to fall and allow them to run into my leg to hold myself up. So simple breakdown. I'm not going to explain the rest of the mechanics. I'm just going to bring up my leg straight up, and then I'm going to rock forward with my hip. Now that rock forward with my pelvis is essentially the extent of my power from the left side. So I'm going to bring my leg straight up, and then I'm going to fall forward. Boom. As so. Now I can have the luxury of pivoting my foot slightly or positioning my foot somewhat outward to gain more range. Obviously, the more I spin, the more I can continue to essentially do a splits. So, bringing my leg straight up, I'm having my supporting leg at about a 45 to 90 degree angle. Boom. And as the further I need to be, then this supporting leg is going to spin more. As so. I can be a little bit more aggressive. Boom. Now, as I make contact, it's very important, very similar to a jab. When I throw my jab, I talked about resistance and the weight being pushed back into me, and my supporting leg having a 45 degree angle into the ground. If I am too perpendicular at a 90 degree angle and I make contact, I'm going to push myself back. So it's very important that I'm at as close to a 45 degree angle as possible, so when I make contact and I'm met with resistance, my energy and weight is transferred into the ground and not back. It's also very important not to do a karate style kick where you bend the leg. If I mistime the kick and the person runs into me, again, even if my leg is at a 45-degree angle, due to the height, if I push back, this is what's going to happen. So again, very important to immediately keep the leg straight, keep it low, and keep this leg somewhat at a 45-degree angle. Boom, boom. I'm also turning my shoulder and allowing that to protrude forward, almost as if I was holding a bar and I'm pulling this imaginary bar in place to me. Ah. 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 Now, striking surfaces on where I would hit a push kick vary. Typically, you would fire them preferably at the chest. The chest, right above the sternum, is where their center of balance is. If I can push the chest, I'm going to move their entire body. Mostly because, again, most of their weight is somewhat forward. Therefore, if I push this, I'm going to move the legs as well. The second part is going to be their stomach or their abs. If I hit their stomach, I will stop them, but again, I will at best fold them. And that's the extent of what's going to happen. But again, they're still there in my face and they can continue to come forward. So, you know, at best, they rush at me. I can't necessarily get the height because they surprise me. I get it at around a stomach level hit, and I'm going to stop them on impact. Therefore, you know, I can continue to fire. If I aim a little bit higher and I'm athletic, I'm going to push them back. The last one is going to be their legs. Now, a word of caution for aiming at their legs. This is probably reserved for the more skilled practitioners of Muay Thai because you have to be very accurate. Typically, when you're push kicking them, the striking surface is going to be the ball of your foot, right around here. When you aim for the legs, you almost hit it with the arc of your foot, and you're not, and again, like you're aiming for typically what's going to be their femur, close around their crotch, because again, there's a lot of room for error. The more further down I go, then I'm going to miss, and I'm going to end up in a very bad position. So if you're going to aim for the legs and get really fancy and tricky, you're going to read their body language. I'm reading this part, I already know it's going to be a right leg, and I'm going to aim right around here, so by the time the leg lifts up, again, their leg is going to run into mine and I'm going to catch them. And you can use it like, you know, the front leg as an ultimate defense for both sides, or you can do where you catch right on left and then left on right. All right, the last variant of the lee side push kick is going to be the push kick where you actually become aggressive and you use it as an attack. So before I get into the attack, there's typically a style or tempo in which your left kick is going to be used. Again, you have the perimeter. If someone comes, you know, you could even just raise the leg, allow them to run into your leg, push kick, raise. If they come in, push kick. So it becomes this very, you know, cat and mouse game of, you know, tag, where, you know, I raise a leg, they back off. You know, if they do decide to come in, I fire it. So the way I become aggressive is I try to lull them to sleep with my body weight. So I'm going to create extra room where they feel secure. If this is my range in which I'm going to push kick them from and I can easily touch them, he's well aware of that range as well as I am. I'm going to fire this from about further away, and I'm going to relax my body language. Again, from here, my legs are the longest limbs. He's going to presume I'm not a threat, therefore nothing's going to really come unless, you know, I take a crazy initial step. So, lull them to sleep. Now from here, I'm going to simply jump at them. As I jump at them, I'm going to push all the way on my rear leg. I'm going to load up, and from here, I'm essentially going to do a one-legged hop. Bop. And again, run at them. So, lull them to sleep, you know, hands are down, or even if they're up, relax. Bop. Now, as I hop at them, it's very important that I don't drag this leg up here to then aggressively come forward. That's going to be the tell, and that's going to defeat the entire purpose. Even from a defensive standpoint, if I bring the leg up here, I'm very at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to push myself back. If I'm here and I do this, he already knows something is up. I'm going to do something aggressive. So try not to showcase anything. Relax, hands are up, bah, just hop. Don't move that back leg, shift your weight back, jump forward, and become aggressive. Obviously, you want to practice with the range in which you feel comfortable and how athletic you are as far as how much distance you can reach. but that would be the only instance in which you are aggressive with your lead leg. All right, guys, so the other push kick is obviously going to be from the rear side. Now, the rear side, you can be a little bit more aggressive because you have ample room to fire. So, the right leg is the only leg where you can slightly bend because, again, it has room to travel to straighten up. So I can bend it a tad bit, but by the time I make contact, I'm going to straighten out my leg as long as possible. So, bring it up slightly bent, turn. Now, I'm going to pivot my lead leg to gain more power and distance, to lengthen out. Again, I have plenty of room to attack. I can push kick someone from here and load up. As I fire and as I land, all the other mechanics that would apply to the lead leg still apply to the right leg. As I land, I want to be at a 45-degree angle from the ground so I don't push myself back. Now, it's very important that I time the distance in which my leg is bent. Try not to really, do that spalling kick where I'm like bending forward and then tucking out, because if my opponent runs at me and I land from this position, I'm going to push myself back. So give yourself ample room and try to keep it as straight as possible. Boom. Boom. Now the striking surfaces for the rear leg push kick, pretty much the same. Stomach folds them over, stops them. Chest, you can be really aggressive, pushing them back. The legs, if you're skilled and you can aim and hit those points. But the last one is going to be the one variant, which is the face and the head. So in Muay Thai, the biggest showcase of disrespect would be push kicking someone in the face, because the head is regarded as extremely holy. That's where you put your monk on. Head is closest to heaven, and the feet are the dirtiest part. Therefore, if I'm putting the dirtiest or disregarded part of my body to your face, that's the biggest insult. But there's a lot of effectiveness to it. So the push kick to the face is the only instance where you're not relying on your hips, but you're actually relying on the snap of your leg. The only time you ever snap your leg is when you aim it to the face, and you're aiming almost with the top part of the ball of your foot. So if I were to take off my shoe, I'm aiming right here and I'm coming at a very upward fashion. So I'm going to tuck my leg in and I'm going to snap my leg forward. Again, aiming at the head. The head is typically tilted down, so it's coming from an underground or an underneath position. And we're going to push up on their face, chin, nose. Now, as I do this, obviously I'm pivoting my foot, but I'm not just falling forward and allowing my leg to be heavy. Again, I'm controlling my leg. It's just with the extension and explosiveness of my quads. As soon as I'm done making contact, I'm having control and I'm bringing it down in the same fashion with balance. So that is, I think, all for all types of push kicks. If you guys have any questions, whether it be the left, the right, have something to add on top of that I've missed, please be interactive, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you guys and have a great day.